The following is a conversation with Senator Sheu Sani. He's an activist, a Pan-Africanist, and this convention is a preliminary convention to a roundtable convention that will be happening with Femi Falana, Bishop Kuka, Pastor Awojide, and some others in Lagos on October 16th. I'll give you a quick mention of the sponsors. This podcast is sponsored by you. If you love the conversation, subscribe on YouTube.
How much does a person make per month as a senator?
Thank you for this question once again. During our time at the National Assembly, every senator is given the sum of 13.5 million naira as the running cost for his office. And then he has 750,000 naira as his salary. And then there is what is called constituency funds, whereby a certain amount of money, like 150 or 200 million naira annually, is domiciled in a certain ministry, department, or agency of your choice, where you will submit proposals for your projects in your own constituency, whether it is construction, hospitals, schools, or providing empowerment materials to your constituents. Such agency, department, or ministry is mandated to execute it. So these are the basic, but I don't know now with the value of the naira that has
Could it have reduced or increased?
Well, I don't know whether it has. It cannot decrease. It could have increased. It's impossible to reduce it, knowing how sensitive such funds are to members of the National Assembly. But members of House of Reps earn less than that because they cover smaller constituencies than the senators.
Okay. By states, does it differ? By states, the senators from every state, does it differ? The amounts are allocated to their constituencies.
There are ones that differ and there are ones that don't differ. For example, now the running cost is the same for all senators all over the country. The salary is also the same. But when it comes to constituency project, a lump sum of money is given to your geopolitical zones, and it depends on your numbers of members of House of Reps and also senators. So you will share that money according to the numbers of reps. So there are some geopolitical zones that have lesser senators and members of House Reps than others. So those who have lesser number of senators and reps are most likely going to get more money because the monies are being shared equally according to geopolitical zones.
Okay. On a little tangent, or on personal the influence money has on personal lives, do you think, I'm very sure we will have a good opinion on this. Do you think money buys happiness, as in for the politicians, can they have money and still be miserable, or in their personal lives? Do you think, to some extent, in your own personal life, do you think money has an influence, a big influence on how happy you are?
Well, there's a difference between what money does to a politician and also what money does to an individual. As an individual, if you don't have money, it's a problem, and you have more money, it's a problem. Because if you don't have money, you will not be able to pay your bills, and your status, even within your family, will be diminished. And because respect and loyalty in most times comes with one's capacity and ability to meet on his own responsibility and address the problems of others. So you can see where if you don't have money, you'll have problem. But also, when you have too much money, the problem is that you start be thinking of living an immortal life. There will be fear of death. There will be so much attachment to vanities, material things of life. And you are most likely going to be disconnected from the human aspect of life, because to you, life begins and ends with money, and that is how you may be cut off from the other aspect of life. So you can see that. But for a politician, most times politicians will get a lot of money, and such money goes to the people whom they serve. Because if you are an elected person and you have 50 million naira, it's not like an individual who has 50 million naira to spend for himself. With a politician with 50 million naira, that money, first and foremost, is yours, but you will have series of problems, because to even keep a constituent and a coterie of supporters and loyalists, you cannot do it without money. So you will see politicians will get a lot of money and it will simply evaporate, because every of your constituents and supporters who have one problem or another, his wife is sick, his rent is due, he has lost somebody, and he needs to travel somewhere. In our own kind of dependency politics of patronage and cronyism, you will find that you have to attend to those things here. So it is most times you will see people who were in government as governors, and the moment they are out of government, they become poor. Because when you are out of government, there will still be an obligation for you to keep those retinue of supporters who have always been with you. If you want to be relevant in the new phase of the political dispensation, you still have to do that. So most times in the kind of system that we run today, as is garbage in, garbage out, as the money comes in, so it also goes out. So a politician who has a lot of money is most likely to keep a lot of supporters with him, because many things begin and end with money in politics of Nigeria.
Yeah. Have you seen anyone? Have you seen anyone that was kept? That was loyal without money, and was what with you or with anyone just because of the goal you both have?
Well, I can tell you that some of your loyalists, you have to keep them by providing for them. But for some, they are simply diehard supporters. Whether you give them or you don't give them, they will still be with you. But what I want you to understand is that our politics is a predatory politics, whereby people hunt for people. Politicians hunt. If you have loyalists around you that you cannot help them settle their bills, and then your opponent can poach at them, get them close to him, address their problems, and then turn them from your own loyalists to his own side. So sometimes you may not necessarily need hundreds of millions to keep your loyalists, but it is expected that a person who is a leader within this political context of Nigeria, you simply have to be able to support your own followers. But what usually happens is that there are categories of followers. There are followers and supporters who are with you because you are in office. And the moment you are out of office, they will come to somebody who is in office. So those people are called friends of the throne. They will always be with whoever is on the seat of power. And then there are those of them who will be with you whether you are in power or not in power. So it is left for you as an individual, as a politician, as a political leader, to be able to know your supporters and those that are with you temporarily and those that will not be able to stay with you. So that is how resources works in politics.
Yeah, yeah. I have been talking about some things on my Twitter page with people who actually says Nigerians, we need leaders in Nigeria, we need leaders in Nigeria. And I tell them that an individual can only go so far. That what we need is strong institutions, like we were saying, that those that th- those that will leave you because of money will be the ones that you catch with money, you know. Like those that leaves you because of the money will be the one you keep with money. So is it their needs? Is it only their needs or their wants that needs to be addressed? There are some basic needs human actually need, you know, but is it also their wants, like cars or right, or stuff like that?
Well, let me show you how these things work. If you are going into politics, you are not going into a battle with simply 100% honest people. You need as much people as possible on your side. There are people that are going to be with you because of what you stand for. There are people that are going to be with you because they are disgruntled. There are people that are going to be with you out of the belief that they will get something from you when you're eventually there. There are people that are going to be with you if you pay them. And there are people that are simply going to be with you because you share the same ethnic, religious, or sectional background, or because you come from their own village or town. So it is for you, a politician, to know you need as much as possible. And as they come, they will also go. Because if they come to you for the reasons why they are there, as long as it is there, they will be with you. And when it's not there, they will go. So when you say needs and wants, it is the same thing with human relations. There are those whom their problems can be solved with a very small amount of money. And there are those whose problem can only be solved with a big amount of money. And there are those whose problem can only be solved with constant supply of money.
Yeah.
So it is for you to understand the nature, the character, the attribute, and the reasons behind the segment of society are supporting you so that you'll be able to move along.
Which one do you think dominates Nigerian politics?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, Nigerian politics is dominated by the material gains which people expect to get from a politician. For example, when you are out seeking for political office, there are those who believe in you. They will support you, and they will work hard and sacrifice all their lives for you. But because poverty has been weaponized in our society, there's so much suffering and hardship. You will see that some people support you and are with you, but they are so poor that they need to be also recharged financially for them to be able to stand and be with you as they should. So it is what the politicians have been to do. Two things make it possible. First of all is the preponderance of poverty. There is so much poverty that the first law for everyone is survival. And the secondly is the monetization of the politics itself. Politics is so monetized from the beginning to the end that it's difficult for people who don't have money to be able to seriously aspire and win positions. For example, if you have an ambition, you want to be a local government chairman or member of State House of Assembly, the first thing they will coach you or train you or give you lessons is that the executives of the party belong to somebody. So the two options you have is that you go and pledge your loyalty to the person who controls the executive, or you should prepare yourself financially to be able to buy them off from him. That is the first step. And then when you win, you also have to move. And people have been so corrupted by the political class to the point that they start disbelieving in promises and pledges. And they simply want their reward to be given to them on the eve of the election day, on the very day of the election. Give me money and I will vote for you. And that is why it is so ridiculed to the point that cheap things like Maggi sauce, sugar, salt, cheap fabrics, and even slippers have been shared to electorates for them to gain their vote. So the danger of this is that the electorate will collect all these things that will simply last them 48 hours. And they will elect a man or a woman that will tyrannize, impoverish, and destroy their lives for 4 years or 8 years. So there's a consequences to that. If you don't elect people based on your belief in them, their ideology, their principles, their comparative honesty, you are most likely going to get in trouble. Many people nowadays get into trouble by electing insensitive, soulless, cruel, and wicked human beings into office because of what they get. Election takes place on Saturdays morning from 8 to 2 a.m. to 2 p.m. 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Now, you'll be shocked that people will suffer for 4 years and they are determined to change a leader only for many people to change their thinking on the day of the election because of what they are given. So politicians have developed a strategy of doing nothing for the common people and simply accumulating money for the election day. Because no matter how good you are, how loved you are, when the election comes, you don't have money, you are most likely going to be disappointed from the people whom you are fighting for and who you are standing.
There was this time when during the last election that they were distributing kuli kuli. Do you know kuli kuli? You should know kuli kuli now. Made with granules.
I have it in my room now.
Okay, kuli kuli, yeah, and they were actually distributing that in my community. You know, they were distributing it to people to actually get them to vote for them. How do you think we can get out of that?
Well, there are 2 or 3 ways we can get out of that. First of all, we have to address the problem of poverty in our society, because most times poverty and hunger shapes the thinking of people to the negative side. Not the positive side by electing people who will address the problem of poverty, but by yielding them towards getting small things that will make them survive for the day. So addressing poverty. Second is we must address the problems of monetization in our politics. There must be a serious legal framework whereby buying votes, paying excos or political party money to vote for you will be seriously criminalized and penalized. The third aspect of it is national orientation, serious national ideological orientation. Our political parties are more of vehicles where people use to mount to the rostrum of power. But they don't engage in idealization of people. They don't engage in indoctrination of people. They don't engage in creating awareness and advocacy for people. So the moment people get into power, they simply throw away the horse of the political party. So if we can address these three things, we will be. But yet, it's not that in the whole 36 states of the Federation, the thinking of people is like that. But there are places where it is more grievous. For example, you see, in Oyo State, you can see how people defied the ruling party and voted for an opposition party, despite everything they were given. The same thing in Adamawa State. The same thing in Bauchi State. You can see what they did. You can see how they also came out in Kano to vote en masse, even though issues came up later. So the capacity, the ability, the strength, and the principles of the people of a particular area to be able to stand up and fight for what is their right and insist and resist temptation of money and material things would be helpful for our democracy. If people get into power because they paid money, they simply buy the position and they will never be responsible or accountable to anyone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm from Oyo State, and we can actually see the little changes. The difference from the previous administration. I live in Oyo State, and what you said, about the ideology of the society. I think this is I think this is the most important thing in the country. The ideology, the principles people live by, the values they live by, what gives meaning to their life. And I've seen the contrast between money and knowledge. Plato said something that the only evil is ignorance, the only value is knowledge, and the only true good is knowledge. What do you think we value most in our society? Even in some poor society, when people are poor, they could still value knowledge beyond above money. What do you think in Nigeria we value the most?
Well, it depends also on the positions which people are aspiring for. For example, in the national elections, people tend to vote for a candidate that comes from their own part of the country. In that respect, and then as the politics of the country, the crisis, the conflicts in the country sometimes shape the political thinking of the electorates. And in some states, you will see that once both the elites and the masses in that state are fed up with the misgovernance or the failure of those in position of authority, you will see there will be unanimity in terms of working to dislodge whoever is holding forth as either a governor or anything. So most times creating awareness help, like in the United States. You can see how Stacey Abrams or Stacey Adams, they call her, from Georgia.
Stacey Abrams.
Yeah, Abrams from Georgia. She is not a politician, but an activist. She was able to embark on a serious grassroots campaign where a Republican state like Georgia voted for a Democratic president that eventually won. I mean, so I believe that a very strong civil society, determined, committed, and grassroots-oriented, can do a lot of change, because the politicians will never educate and enlighten the people not to bow down to money. They will never do that. So it needs a non-political or apolitical institution like the civil society to be able to honestly, objectively, and fairly advocate and reach out to people for them to disconnect themselves from the law and the temptation of voting for people because they give them money.
When I look at societies like China, and I look at Nigeria, I look at the historical upheaval that we've ever had, the series of protests we've had, I think it correlates with I think it always correlates with money. When the ones the women led in the 90s against the Alafins and in Oyo State and Lagos, and that was when some taxes were levied against them, against women, and some series of depressions during the Great Depressions. I think it's not the Great Depression. No. It was just like something like the coronavirus also then. And now when I look at the NSA protests, also happened during when people were going through some silent economic pain, but because the vestige of the coronavirus actually left people more impoverished than they were before the coronavirus. And I look at China also. The Chinese are telling their people, no, we deny you your rights, you will have to suffer, but the economy will be good. When I look at the societies like that, and I think people occupy the role money actually plays is because they occupy with their self-esteem. The self-esteem, once the self-esteem is there, you can be more tolerant towards your right being denied. What do you think? How do you think Nigerians are being pacified? Because things have never been good. Have never been good politically in Nigeria. But is it the money that always come into play when if the economy is good? Do you think people are naturally willing, or they're more pacified when their rights are being denied?
Repeat briefly the last part.
Okay. Do you think as long as money is available, people are being more pacified, are being more tolerant towards their views, their rights being denied?
Well, when your right is being denied, you are oppressed or persecuted. It is expected of a morally conscious society to stand up and fight the leadership or the system that has impoverished them, that is persecuting them, or that is oppressing them. But the ruling political elite are very conscious of the need to protect and defend their privileges and power. The NSAS protest in Nigeria was one of the popular civic uprising in recent history of this country. It started as an uprising against police brutality as represented by the SARS, but it now spread to all parts of the country as a form of resistance against oppression, repression, and the failure of this generation to address the challenges of the present Nigeria. So, if you are oppressed and persecuted and you are paid not to protest, it's more or less like buying your own condition and remaining perpetually a slave, or one that is eternally attached to his oppressor. So, no matter how money are being used to suppress dissent, it's a question of time. Yeah. There will be a time money will not be useful. In this country today, there is so much insecurity. Bandits and terrorists are killing people and kidnapping people, and they have become a state within the state, extorting ransom and destroying villages, destroying our educational system, and forcing farmers out of their farms. It's a question of time. The very day the people of this country decides to pick up arms against those terrorists and bandits, that will be the end of those terrorists. But the fear of the government is that when people take up an arms resistance against criminality, it doesn't stop
So
at those
it could
criminals.
actually-
It
could
can
actually
move.
branch
It
on
will
their
move beyond
Yeah.
to a national movement of changing the whole system. So I think that is the whole fear. Yes.
Wow, and the quest for secession in Nigeria, the clamor for secession that we want to split apart. We want to split apart. So why do you think it has not been? Why do you think it has not been? Why do you think this time is different? This moment that we are is different. It has not been equally. Like the passion for it, and it has not been equally virulent all through history since time of Tafawa Balewa. When I was growing up, I wasn't hearing anyone saying they want secession. They want Oduduwa wants to go in into way Biafra wants to go in. Of course, the Biafra war was before I was born, but why do you think it wasn't equally virulent then? We've never except for Obasanjo and in the Shonekon also, we've never had a Yoruba president. Shonekon was interim. Azikwe and I've forgotten his other name. That they've had we've had Igbo an Igbo president or a ruler of the country, sha. And when you look at all through history, I would love you to correct my views on that. Most of the rulers we've had in Nigeria have been from the northern part. It isn't like it is just Hausa, because people actually always think that the north is monolithic, but it is not. But why do you think this time is different? That people are actually clamoring for secession. What have you noticed?
Well, since the beginning of Nigeria's journey as an independent nation, there have always been people with views that this country should go into different parts. And I believe that was the beginning of the Biafran Nigerian Civil War. But since then, efforts have been made by successive governments to cement and further build a cohesive nation by recognizing and identifying where the cracks are and how to make amends. Many institutions and ideas were brought forward, like the NYSC, the federal government colleges, federal character, and all sorts of, to bring Nigerians together. But why is it so
Virulent now? Why is it so?
Why is it so fierce now?
Potent, yeah.
There are a number of reasons to that. First of all, the party that comes to power has been in opposition for a very long time. And the bulk of its votes come from basically two regions, which is the northern part and the southwestern part of Nigeria. And when they took over power, rather than building bridges and opening their arms to all parts of Nigeria, so it rather became a vindictive approach. And then nepotism comes into play, where appointment after appointment were given to a people from a particular part of the country. And where there is no initiative, innovation, or ideas of reaching out to even those who didn't vote for them. So they have built a state or a condition whereby it is those who voted us that are friends and those who didn't vote for us are enemies. And when you build your own kind of government along that philosophy, questions will be asked. The next aspect of it is that the collapse of security in the country and the economic challenges we are facing and the inability of those in power to address them. People think that the best way is to change the government, and some think the best way is to break the country. So if you have a country that is properly governed and that will practice the laws of equity and justice and fairness to all Nigerians, you will see that these agitations will simply fizzle out. For example, for a president that has spent 8 years in power, if he will have the courage and reshuffle his cabinet and bring in people from the part of the country that are crying of marginalization into it, they will come with their ideas, their goodwill, and he will open his arms and say, this is what we are. But if you say choice ministries should go to a particular part of the country, well, lesser ones should go to a certain part of the country, and appointment after appointment, people who refuse to vote for you are being persecuted, are being penalized, and are being profiled as enemies, people will then say, what is the essence of me remaining in such country? I am a fanatical believer in a united Nigeria, but I can understand the reasons why people want to break out and people are fighting. People respond to injustice in a number of ways, and it's not peculiar to Nigeria. Scotland wants to secede from the United Kingdom. Quebec wants to secede from Canada. Tibet in China wants to pull out of China. And then you have other countries, even in Holland, that is also called Netherlands. You see such things happening. In Spain, the region of Catalonia, they want to pull out of Spain. So all these things, you see them every day. These are all part of the challenges. Now when you have a government that practices what is preached in terms of equity and justice, then the number of people who want secession will continue to reduce because everyone will have a sense of belonging. I do not believe that Nigeria will break, and for the reasons that I have not seen Southerners living in the North having any interest in going back home. I come from Kaduna, and I travel to all parts of the North almost every week or month, and I have not seen Igbos from Kano who wants to leave Kano and go back to Imo, Anambra, Abia, or Enugu State. They have become landlords and traders and have become and share the same rights with the indigenous people of Kano. So the same thing with the Yorubas in Kaduna State. Some of them, their parents have been there long before our parents were even born. Yeah. So they don't know anywhere to call home other than Kaduna. So I don't see, because the thinking of a Yoruba man in Yoruba land is different from the thinking of a Yoruba man in the northern part of Nigeria. The thinking of an Igbo man in Igbo states is different from the thinking of an Igbo man in northern part of Nigeria. So there is the belief that if we make this country better, people who are fighting to break away from this country will lose the reason for them to fight. But if the present state of things continue, bandits are killing people, herdsmen are unleashing violence, women and children are being slaughtered and raped every day, and the government appears helpless and hopeless in terms of addressing those issues. Nobody will like to live under fire or in a flame. That is a fact.
Yeah. How do you think ethnic tribalism actually plays into this? Why there repentant Boko Harams? I'm not of the view that if someone actually repents of their crimes, they shouldn't be punished, I'm not. I don't. I'm not of that view. So how do you think this plays into it? People have been saying, it is because of, including me. I don't just say people. Have been. It is because of tribalism that these people are not being punished. I know enough about my own people, Yoruba people, to know that if you are a criminal in the society, no matter who is being killed, even if it is a foreigner or anyone in the society, we are not that tribal in that sense. We are not that unified in that sense to the point that we shut out a foreigner like that. Do you think ethnic tribalism actually plays into the freeing of Boko Harams and the bandits? I've never seen any bandits prosecuted or anyone of them jailed.
Well, you should not say any person who repented of his crime should not be pardoned. After all, militants in Niger Delta who have been blowing up pipelines and engaging security were pardoned and incorporated into the Nigerian state.
Is it by the federal government or the states?
It is the federal government because they have a federal amnesty program, and then even a ministry was established for them. But in the case of terrorists in the northeastern part of Nigeria, we have to be very careful in terms of the intention of their surrender. This surrender may not be as a result of the fact that they are tired of fighting and want to come back and repent. But we know very well that there is a new faction that is stronger than Boko Haram, which is the ISWAP, Islamic State in West Africa. And they are engaged in a war of attrition whereby the leader of the Boko Haram was killed. So it may not be that they want to surrender, but they are running away from a stronger faction that can exterminate all of them. So they are moving to a safe haven, which is inside in the embrace of the government. And we have to be very careful. You can't just embrace them and mix them with the society. People who are highly indoctrinated and who have killed so many people in their lives, for you to simply open your arms and embrace them into your own side, it's going to be very difficult. You have to be very careful. You have to quarantine them, investigate them, and then see where the crime they have committed, and then seek the consent of their victims before you move to the next step of what to do with them.
What do you think is the ideology that separates Boko Haram from ISWAP? I don't know. Why could they be running from them?
Yeah, the reasons is the rivalry that exists between Al-Qaeda and ISIS. Boko Haram appears to be aligned to Al-Qaeda, while ISWAP is a branch of ISIS. So in the global scene, Boko Haram's Al-Qaeda leader was Osama bin Laden, and ISIS leader was Baghdadi. All of them, they were killed. So these are the two.
So what do you think separates Al-Qaeda and ISIS? The idea that separate.
Well, they are all terrorist organizations, but with a different leadership. So ISIS is a faction that came from outside of Al-Qaeda. And they established their bases in Iraq after the fall of Saddam Hussein, and then they extended to Syria, and they tried to form an Islamic State, which they couldn't. And then Al-Qaeda was a terror group that targeted Western countries, particularly United States, in 2001, and became the tragic story of the world. So these are the basic issues.
That you're a Muslim. To what extent do you think Islam played a role in this radicalization?
Well, Islam is a religion of peace, like with Christianity. And from what I know, Hitler, who has killed millions of people, who is also a Christian, he hasn't derived his genocide and manslaughter for the fact that he didn't pull it out from Christianity. So we should separate the religion from the conduct of individual and their own interpretation of religion themselves. People who kill, kidnap, maim, rape people, a lot of them try to manipulate religious teachings according to their own thoughts. So they need something to justify their evil. And Islam happens to be the victim of these people. But unfortunately, like any religion, you can have a good Muslim and a bad Muslim, good Christian and a bad Christian, good Hindu, bad Hindu, good Buddhist and bad Buddhist. And then it is everywhere.
Could we... I think this actually originates from the idea that let's not just talk about the authority who actually decides what the teachings are, what the teachings actually mean. What do you think? Do you think we could actually dispose of? If ideas can be radicalized like that, I don't know if it is intrinsically good to actually say these ideas, if these ideas can be interpreted in this way, like what is the need for the interpretation? Could we actually dispose all of it, and actually live our lives through a rational, secular life, without the need for religion? I get you're a Muslim, but I'd like to hear your views on this. Bishop Kuka was saying we need a secular constitution. So to some extent, secularism will be the solution to a lot of our problems. So do you think we could actually live our lives without this religion?
Well, you see, the good side of religion is that it has control over you more than the government. Yeah. Because if you don't have religion in our society, you can not imagine the chaos that will have come out of it. For example, many people are being restrained from their evil ways, not for the fear of what the government will do for them, but for the fear that when they die, they don't know where they're going and they are going to face a fire which they will not escape from it. So the fear of the unseen, the fear of the uncertain, the fear of the invisible controls a human being and restrain him more than the fear of what he can see. People can break the law and get away with it, but one thing you know definitely is that you will die someday and you are going to go to meet somewhere. You find yourself somewhere where you don't know, where you cannot communicate back to people on earth and tell them this is what I've seen and this is how people are treated. Yeah. So the control of human soul is done by religion, while the control of the physical side of a human being is more or less manipulated and restrained by government and laws of human law.
So, okay. But when you look at the prison statistics, and I will put this on the screen because I check it all the time. When you look at the prison statistics of the world, the areas where you get the least crimes, they happen to be the secular states. When you look at the statistics of atheists in prison, they are below, like they are almost non-existent. And the religious people often dominate the prison system. When you look at countries like the Scandinavian countries where atheists actually dominate the areas like Japan and China, it gets lesser crimes, So I don't think. Do you think our laws are based on our laws and the way we live our lives are actually based on religious teachings instead of from a rational world, Because when the world was more religious, there was more chaos. And now that the religion is there are about 27% of atheists in the world. Those who actually declare themselves not to be religious, and you get this religion, that could actually be a cause for people say it is a cause for doing good things, but I don't think it is a cause for doing good things. People just think it is their reason for doing good things. I'm not religious at all, not in one bit. I wouldn't kill someone because I happen to find them not to be religious, or because I'm not religious. It is not because God told me not to kill someone. It's because of the empathy. I can actually look at someone and say, wow, if you lose someone, if you die, I won't want to die. I won't want to have my dreams broken, and my ambitions torn away by killing someone, and I care about people a lot. Do you think it is based on our teachings of the society? Could we base, like, in the contrast of these countries or other countries, could we base our societies on laws? Like, when you look at wolves, when you look at bees, colony of bees, they go in line. They have their own rules, they have their own law, they have the coin, they have the soldier, without religion. They get their societies to be governed without religion, and wolves also, and apes, if or other apes. Could we also do the same? Because that was the goal of the Enlightenment, that we will base our reasons, and if in the light of religion, I'm very sorry for cutting in, if it is in the light of religion, we don't have human rights, because every religion and every practitioner of it actually says that God actually tells them, you the believers have been placed above every other people. And what's the rule of law, what human rights actually claims is that no matter your tribe, no matter your ethnicity, you will be treated the same in the face of the law. So do you think we could actually amplify that in our society? Because the round table I told you about, I'll be talking about this for a brief of time, because a pastor will also be there, and Bishop Carl will also be there, about living our life based on reason, because religion also plays a role in ethnicity and the ethnic divide in our country that seems like it is never going away. Do you think we can actually live our lives on secular reasons? What do you derive from religion?
All right. Well, let me be specific on this. If you don't have religion, it's going to be very difficult for the government to control the people. Because with religion, almost 60 to 70% of a human being is being controlled, and the next is the government. In African setting before the coming of Islam and Christianity, there was idol worship, and there were priests, and the rulers there have been seen to be both temporal and spiritual leaders. And there are gods that can cause a human being, and there are idols which you can fear. So in that aspect, even pre-Islamic, pre-Christian Africa, people have been controlled by the belief and fear of the unknown, which is the religion at that time. Then when the colonial masters came, they came with businessmen, came with soldiers, but they couldn't control the people without also coming with Christianity. And as such, Christianity helps in terms of freeing people from idolatry practices and also getting their soul to believe in a God that is one. And then for that, human soul and spirit is now being controlled by his just belief. And when Islam too comes to northern part of Nigeria, you can see the Arab traders that came and those Nigerians and people who are living within the territory of Nigeria that moved and brought Islam there has made life easier. Now, the idea of Magna Carta, or a document to say this is a universal fundamental rights of citizens or the laws of a country, is to harmonize and build a system of laws and principles to which the nation or the state can be run. So by that, it means that you can be a Christian, you can be a Muslim, you can be an atheist. Now we have a certain law for which we will now have to conform with. Now, if those laws are in conflict with our own religion, then now the state will assert itself because there must be an authority. This is it. And now you form laws from the nature of people, their tradition, their culture, and their ways of life. This is how laws are made. The laws that will fit into the life of the Western world may not fit into our life. Things they permit and accept as right in their own parts of the country will not be accepted here. But there are things also we share with them as Africans, as black people. So I can say this, that without religion, it will have simply been chaotic. And that is why when you have laws that governs us all, there is also religious laws that are applicable to people who are within those regions. As a Muslim, I know very well that if I die, there is a specific formula in Sharia legal system where the inheritance I left behind will be shared. Women will be given 50%, and the men who are my children have their shares, and my wife and my mother. There is a formula for everything that has been set. So now there is virtually no crisis when I leave, and my will, what the God said, what Allah says in the religion, supersedes what my will says. And there is also a law in Islam that says that if you are indebted to somebody before the inheritance is being shared, such kind of person must be paid. And also the law has also, Islamic law, Sharia has also made it very clear that if I'm going to marry a wife, this is all that is needed, the dowry and witnesses from my family and her family. So any other thing you are adding is simply for yourself, and it is not within the religion. So such things, I'm a Muslim Hausa man, and a Muslim Europe, and a Muslim Igbo or Igala or TV or Idoma or Ibra, Muslims, or Nupes or Gwari Muslims are all enjoyed to respect, observe, and comply with these laws. So in Christianity, it may not be that the way the Igbo Christians share their inheritance may be different from the way the Yorubas share their inheritance, and it may be different the way Ibibio or Ijo share their inheritance, despite them being Christians. So you can see there are things which we are comfortable that the problems have been solved by the Almighty Himself. And as such, there is no need for anybody to start arguing.
Okay, all right. Yes, something that one of the arguments China is making. It is that the democracy, that the kind of democracy is not the standard. Like, when I watch the debate of Eric Lee and a lot of these ambassadors, they say that our democracy is different from your democracy, that we are practicing the real democracy here. This ambassador to the US actually said, told to Americans that democracy is not like Coca-Cola, that has the same flavor all over the world. And I want to try to apply this to religion, And you are right, to some extent, it is religion is good for harmonizing society, harmonizing like harmony, harmonizing the society and ordering people's steps. But it was, when I look at the past, it was a necessary force now, it isn't. And when I look at it, it isn't anymore. There are, I don't know, you believe in the afterlife, but we as a society still are not satisfied with that. When people die, when people get away with their crimes, and we want to stick it to them, we want to get them right here. We don't want them in the afterlife, and because we are not sure about eternity and the punishments in hell. That's why we implement laws now to actually get people now, to hold people to account now. So when you look at the settings, the religion is now becoming a tool for division in the country. In the south southern part of Nigeria is majorly Christian. The northern part is majorly Muslim. The Protestants in southwest. But now it is. I don't think we have to fear the unknown anymore. I don't think we could all believe in reason. Reason could be all our the limitation of suffering, but we can actually our laws can be aimed at limiting suffering. Yes, there could be ways in which to divide your inheritance in Islam, and it might be equal, it might not be equal, but we can actually aim towards equality without actually needing to believe in God or in some supernatural force. We can actually aim towards equality. Like if you read the Bible, the Bible says women are not equal to men. And I'm sure to some extent they also in the Quran or somewhere in the Surah or whatever, somewhere that's this gap bridges. But now it seems like it is when I look at the society, it seems like it is. That's my view. It is dividing the society into two tribes. Like I'm either Christian, I'm either Muslim, and a person who doesn't profess a belief, like me, I'm an atheist who doesn't profess a belief in one, can actually, no matter how good I am, no matter how reasonable I am in my dealings and in all my policies, a person like that can get elected because the people feel like our laws are based on fears, on fear, on fear of the unknown, like you said, or fear of punishment. But I don't think that is actually needed in of course, to some extent humans need to be constrained, but I don't think that is actually really needed to harmonize people, to get people to work towards limiting suffering in the world.
I do understand where you are heading to. Well, all I will say is that religion has its own problem, not conceptually, but the way and manner in which people exploit it to their own personal gain. Anything you mix with religion, you have problems. In a heterogeneous, multi-religious society like ours, you are bound to see even people killing each other in the name of religion. Yeah. While all the religion profess and preaches peace, you have some of the most violent people on earth. All of them also are religionists. So if we will live by the teachings of our religion, we will all live in peace with each other. I've seen how Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has even offered his mosque for Christians to go and perform their own worship. He has many times accommodated Christians, but when you see a Muslim who can manipulate religion,
same thing.
Yeah, I'm going. Yeah, they can use it to manipulate and use it as a basis for which they will inflict injury and harm and even kill other persons using the same religion. So the same thing goes also with Christianity. Christ has lived in peace with people who don't even believe in him, and he has lived his life and gone back to his Creator. And I'm one of those who believe he is going to come back, and I'm a Muslim, and I believe all Muslims believe that Christ is going to come back to this world. But the problem with religion is that people who know little about it and people who know so much about it. So if you know so much about religion, you are bound to be an extremist. If you know so little about it, you are simply bound to be an extremist. So as we worship our own God, which is one God, we should also respect other people's belief. Nobody has ever embarked on a war that converted everyone to his own religion. The God that created us, if he wanted us to be in one religion, we could have all been in one religion. So we are not. So religion should be a tool for peace, for restraint of our soul, and for work towards living harmoniously with each other. Thank you very much. I have another meeting here, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I wish we could actually go on for like